What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Okay, so in today's video, I'm gonna show you guys something that happened as the aftermath of Chris Bledsoe's interview with Shawn Ryan. If you guys remember, there is a part of that interview where Chris Bledsoe seems to say that Jesus Christ is coming back on 2026. But apparently, and according to Science Bob McGuire, who was a guest on the show, he apparently spoke to Mr. Chris Bledsoe. And Mr. Bledsoe said that that specific part of the interview was heavily edited and that he didn't say that. He said something different. So I'm going to show you guys something that I stumbled upon. You guys know that the UFO Twitter spaces are like a constant thing on Twitter. And there's a lot of different conversations that take place there. Science Bob is part of the UFO Twitter community, and he's constantly on these Twitter spaces talking to everybody. So Mr. Red Panda Koala, who does a lot of great work showing clips on X, he did a clip where Science Bob was on a Twitter space talking about this. And what he said was really interesting. And I want to show it to you guys so you guys can let me know what you think about this. And then I'll meet you guys back on the other side after this. But here
Chris
it is.
and Shawn recorded session. And of course, as usual, it lasted for hours. But it took months for it to come out. And Chris was really getting frustrated because he didn't think it was going to come out, and he was not being told the reasons. He had no understanding for what was going on. Finally, we rejoice. It's going to come out. I called Chris and I says, well, yeah, it was pretty good. I says, there are a couple of rough spots. And he says, Bob, I am so angry. I can't begin to figure out how to console myself. And I says, what is going on, Chris? He said, they edited the video very carefully. And there's a one rough section when they put together separate pieces and made it into something I never said. And I'll leave it up to you if you want to what it was. But what was going on, what Chris said was coming in 2026 was apocalypse, which means a new learning and a new meaning. He never said what came next. He said, I hope Christ comes soon in a separate sentence.
What's going to happen, I don't know. But I think it's possible that's the return of
Christ.
yeah,
So this is
for the
where
lady and the whole heavenly host living with us, Jesus. That's the first time I've ever said that in my life publicly.
And I could tell you the following is a fact. The editor was fired within 24 hours. That's number one. So there's one thing Chris is pretty aware of, and it's major things in the Bible. He is certainly aware of. No one knows when Jesus is coming again, including Jesus. He never said that. And I'm telling you, it was edited to make it look like that. I have not seen in the entire time I have known Chris, the entire time.
do you guys remember when I mentioned that Shawn Ryan is a religious fundamentalist, or at least that's what he expressed when he visited Joe Rogan. He said that he believed that the apocalypse was actually real, that the end times were here. And there's a lot of misconceptions about this word apocalypse. People seem to think that apocalypse means the end of the world, but it doesn't mean that. The word apocalypse actually means a revelation of something. It does not mean the end of the world. So that's the first misconception that people decide to make, especially with the Abrahamic religions, not just Christianity. There's people who are fundamentalists who are Jewish, Christian, Catholic, and even Muslims who believe that there is some kind of end of the world scenario that is taking place. And that is a misconception. And Science Bob did explain here everything that happened with that Shawn Ryan interview. So that editor, was he like getting orders from Shawn in order to make it seem like Chris was saying that Jesus was actually coming back? I kept talking about this in the comments right after I reported on this, where I mentioned that there is a confusion with this word Christ. People seem to think that this return of Christ is directly tied to the return of Jesus. And if you really pay attention to these scriptures, and even more ancient scriptures like Hindu scriptures and others, they do talk about a level of high consciousness that us humans are capable of reaching. And this Christ consciousness is exactly that. It has nothing to do with a person. It has everything to do with our level of consciousness, that we can reach everybody. That's what I understand as Christ consciousness. It has nothing to do with the man. But you guys can differ from my opinion. That's okay. It's a free world as far as I checked. But I want to hear what you think about this new information. Shout out to Red Panda Koala for this clip that he put together. He does great work, so shout out to him. What do you think about this? Science Bob does have a close relationship with Chris Bledsoe. And honestly, if he's talking about this, it's probably because he did have this exchange with Chris, who seemed really angry about this. And Shawn Ryan, mysteriously, he released the episode right after he was getting a lot of pressure from people who wanted to hear and see this interview. And now that Chris is throwing out this accusation of this interview being heavily edited, it will be interesting to see how Shawn Ryan responds to this, because if he did, in fact, command for this edit to happen, what's his motive? What's his agenda? Why is he doing this? And yeah, it does seem like that, because before this interview, I didn't have this like preconception that Chris was religious right now. He does have his core beliefs, which are rooted in Christianity, because he did grow up in a Christian household, but he never really talked about like from a religious standpoint when he talks about his encounters. He says they're angels. Yes, that can be misconstrued as a religious connotation. But this concept of angels and demons and jinn is really, really old. And it's even before the Abrahamic religions were created. People have been talking about these beings even before that. So it's interesting to see the different versions of whatever Bledsoe said on the Shawn Ryan show. And now this one comes from a person who is like really good friends with Mr. Bledsoe. So I would pay attention to that, but maybe you don't want to, so that's fine. I want to hear your thoughts on it. What do you think about what Science Bob just said about Chris Bledsoe's interview being heavily edited? Why do you think that happened? And what do you think Chris Bledsoe actually meant or means when he talks about this 2026 stuff, and when he talks about this lady that he claims it's Hathor, which is an Egyptian goddess? I want to hear everything you got to say about this. I think it's a very interesting one, and it's some new information that I wasn't really expecting, but still refreshing if you ask me. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. If you like the content you see, I want to ask you to please like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can get notified when new video drops. If you want to support the channel in any other way, I'm going to ask you to please pick a link from the description. You can also access our members channel and the KGRA website. Thank you for your support always. And that's it for me today. I'll see you guys in the next one. But please don't forget, stay curious. Bye.